All right, we're back with Christine, who wrote the book, Heaven Talks to Children. And we were talking to you during the show about some of the stories of children you've written about. You were telling us the story about Tyler.
Great. Do you want me to start again?
That'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be great.
So 5-month-old Tyler died from SIDS. And the next day his mother is trying to figure out how to explain to her other son, who was only 3, about Tyler dying. And she tried to explain it, he wasn't really sure what death was. And she said, whenever you want to talk to Tyler, you can just look up to the sky and talk to him. And he looked very puzzled, and he said, but Mom, he's not up in the sky, he's sitting right here beside us. And then he said, and Tyler said to say, for you not to, Mommy and Daddy not to cry on Monday. So what's Monday? And they said, well, we're going to bury Tyler. We're going to bury Tyler on Monday. We're going to put him in a box just like we did your goldfish. So Trevor turns to the side, nods his head, smiles, and he said, Tyler's not going to be in that box. It's just his body.
Wow.
His little brother told him that.
Wow.
3 years old?
3 years old.
Wow.
How would a 3-year-old know that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You kind of remind me of the 4-year-old Colin Burpo, whose story became so internationally well known in the book and now the subsequent movie, Heaven is for Real, of how he goes through a traumatic surgery, but during that time has a visit in heaven,
right,
where he walks with Jesus, sits on his lap, sees Jesus with a horse, riding on a horse, and it meets his sister, who was never born,
right,
but died through a miscarriage.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He didn't know it.
And he didn't know it.
So that's a validation. And one thing about the children's stories, look for validations, because people think, oh, is this an imaginary friend, or what is this? But if validations come through, then you know it's the real thing and they're not making it up.
Why do you think this happens? Why do we have these quote-unquote God encounters?
I believe God wants us to know he's there, that there is an afterlife, and I believe he uses the children, their innocence, because adults are so close-minded as they get older. Some adults, not all adults, but many adults are skeptical and they don't see beyond the earth. And if you have little children, a child who is so innocent and tells you something that there's no way that they would know, it has to open your mind to the belief of that there's something really there. They're really talking to a loved one.
I heard so much about this idea of the guardian angel, too, from someone who's passed before the child is even born. This idea that this guardian angel maybe was a grandmother or a grandfather that had passed away before this child was born, and then these kids are noticing this grandparent and telling their parents, I'm seeing this person, and they're describing
Right.
their mom or their dad
Right.
to them. Do you hear a lot of that?
Oh yes, there's some stories in my book about that, where they actually would pick out the photo, never seen the photo of that grandparent before, but when the mother would show them the album, they would pick up, that's him.
Is
That's
there
him.
something we can do? Because I would love to see my grandparents again. Is there something we can do to encourage them?
Actually yes. All these are gifts from God. So you always go to the top guy first, and you ask the Lord if he will let your loved one visit you in a dream, for instance, because that's the closest way that we can really see them, unless you are really gifted, like the children or adult mediums. And ask the Lord to let your loved one visit you in a comforting dream. Pray for protection before you go to bed at night. And if you do that every night, you'll get results. And keep a little pad and pen under your pillow, because many times you start to forget your dream as you're waking up. But if you quickly jot it down while you're still half awake, half asleep, you'll say, my grandmother was here.
Yeah, you talk about the forgetfulness, because children, when they have these encounters, as they grow older, because of life experiences and things that they go through, they tend to forget that God encounter as well. But I do like the fact that you bring up the children being so accepting, because even Christ said, they shall come to me with childlike faith.
Exactly.
And actually he wants people to see him on that level. But as adults, we get crusty.
Yeah, we do. And the world makes us that way. Would you like to hear a story about a little child and Jesus in my book?
Sure.
She was 2 years old, her name is Deanna, and she had asthma-like symptoms, and her mother was very worried because her own brother almost died from asthma. So she laid her on her bed, she went in, took a quick shower, prayed to the Lord that her daughter would be all right, and then she got out of the shower and she heard her daughter talking to someone, and she said, Deanna, who are you talking to? And she said, oh, Jesus, Mommy. He said he's going to make my cough go away and I'm going to be all better. Her cough went away. And it's been a few years now, and she's never had asthma-like symptoms since then.
Wow.
Just a matter of fact, oh, Jesus, Mom.
That's right. So where can we find your book if we want to read your book?
Oh, you can find it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com. Any of the stores will carry it.
Oh, that's great.
It's called
Christine,
Heaven
thank you
Talks to
so much.
Children.
Thank you so much for
Happy
having
Easter.
me. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you too at home.